The reservation was under my mother-in-law's name. That was the first thing I noticed when the hostess greeted us at the door. "Right this way, Mrs. Caldwell." She said it with the particular warmth reserved for regulars, people who feel ownership over a room. Judith walked in ahead of me the way she always did, shoulders back, chin level, the posture of a woman who had never once walked into a space and wondered whether she belonged there. She had chosen this restaurant herself. She had called it intimate. She had said it was the kind of place where important conversations happened without interruption. She was right about that last part. What she did not know, what none of them knew, was that 3 months ago I had signed the final acquisition documents on this building, this kitchen, this dining room, and every table in it, including the one she had reserved for the dinner where she planned to make me disappear. Before I tell you what I ordered for dessert and why it was the last meal Judith Caldwell ever planned in my presence, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know how far this reaches. My name is Claire. I'm 34 years old. To my husband's family, I am the woman Marcus married 4 years ago against their careful, specific objections. I am the woman who grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment above a dry cleaning shop, the woman whose mother worked nights, the woman who did not attend the right schools or summer at the right places, or arrived in the Caldwell family with the right last name already attached to her. To the 11 companies in my investment portfolio, I am the majority stakeholder, the silent architect, and the reason 4 of those businesses went from structurally insolvent to acquisition targets inside of 3 years. I do not advertise this, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I learned a long time ago that the most powerful position in any room is the one nobody has thought to account for. Judith had never thought to account for me. That was her most expensive mistake. To understand what happened at that table, you have to understand the Caldwells. They were not cruel people in the obvious way. They did not raise their voices. They did not make scenes. What they did was quieter and more precise. They categorized. They assessed. They placed you in a column, asset or liability, worthy or tolerated, and once you were in that column, nothing you did ever fully moved you out of it. I had been placed in the liability column approximately 40 minutes after Marcus first brought me home for Sunday dinner. I remember that evening with the kind of clarity you reserve for formative humiliations. Judith had served lamb. The table was set with the family china, the kind that has been through enough generations to become a statement. Marcus's father, Gerald, had asked me what my family did. I said my mother was retired. He nodded slowly, the nod of a man filing information under as expected. Judith had asked whether I had siblings. I said no, I was an only child. She said, "How interesting," in a tone that meant the opposite. Marcus's sister, Brooke, had spent the evening performing a kind of cheerful obliviousness that I later understood was her specific weapon. She smiled at everything I said, the smile that means, "I have already discussed you, and I already know the conclusion." After dinner, while Marcus was helping Gerald with something in the study, Judith walked me to the garden. The roses were immaculate. She told me they required constant attention, that beautiful things always did. Then she turned to me and said with genuine warmth that she hoped Marcus and I were being sensible, that she hoped we understood the difference between feeling and planning, that the Caldwell name carried obligations that not everyone was prepared for. I thanked her for the dinner. I drove home and I sat in my car in the dark and I thought about the 7-figure term sheet sitting in my laptop bag that I had not mentioned once all evening. I had not mentioned it because nobody asked. They never asked. That was the thing about the Caldwells. They looked at me and saw a category, and categories in their world did not require investigation. 4 years of marriage had not moved me out of that column. If anything, the Caldwells had grown more organized about it. 18 months ago, Marcus had accepted a partnership at his firm. It required longer hours, more travel, and the specific vulnerability of a man who was suddenly very busy and very